G'day, guys. So I was having a bit of a chat with someone close to me, and he was talking about, sort of talking to some people about the Bitbo website. And I got to admit, I had a bit of a look online, and I didn't see too many people actually be talking about this particular website. There probably is some, but I mean, they're just buried in the algorithms. They weren't really making any headway. I've referred to this channel quite a few times, and it's pretty good. Um, it's got all the stats for starters. Like it's got the blockchain height. We got 827,628, which is we're getting very close to the halving, which is at 840,000. Funny thing, I double checked one day whether or not it was the 839 and 999 with where it changed, 840,000 or 840,001, and it is actually the 84,000 yeah clean, which it actually changes. So I believe that when it's 839,999, that is the last time that it will have the mining reward of, I think, 6.25. I think it's going right now. Um, God, I can't believe I don't remember that. Um, but I think it goes down to the 3.12 after this. So it's tight. It's getting tighter. There's no doubt about it. This is my second halving that I've been through because I watched the one come down from 12.5 down. I never was around for the 25s. Um, it's got other good stuff on it too. Like I've noticed that geez, uh, we've got a supply right now of 19.6 million Bitcoin. Like I think I started when it was like somewhere between 15 to 16 million, and yeah, for like quite a few years since it's clocked up another 4 million Bitcoin, and at 19.6, we're almost at the end. I have to admit, it accelerates quite quickly to 20, and then it really tapers off from there. So it's gone from 15 million to 19 million in, in what I would probably think is a flash, and it's gone pretty much. It's going to hit 20 and then just peter out. I also noticed that the chain size. The chain size is 618 gigabyte. I think when I first started, and I first was getting into putting nodes on, believe it or not, it was roughly about 250 to about 280 gigabyte, and it's certainly climbed for quite a while now because obviously when I got in, Segwit had been was already started, and so people started to fill the blocks a lot more. And obviously recently, the ordinals have really kicked off, and they're really adding, quite a few gigabytes of data. I also noticed down here that the total transactions right now is at 958 million. That basically means we're about what 42 million, 42 million transactions away from being 1 billion transactions total. That's going to be I'm interested to find out if anyone actually talks about that, because that's coming up pretty close. But onto the thing that most people really look at when they look at this sort of stuff, apart from difficulty and mempools and all that sort of stuff, is usually the price. And this one, I don't even know if I've said this before, but it's all automatically gone to Australian dollar. And let me see if you can hit like 5 years, or you can do the all one, which doesn't really categorize for everybody because there's probably plenty of people out there who are new and were never really around these days. But what's going on here? It hasn't even gone back to 2017 when I was here. Let's go back a little bit further, because if it was an 8-year graph, I'd be able to see where I got in. So I got in somewhere around here. So there's no doubt that being in Bitcoin has, well, it seems to have worked out for me realistically, because if I entered over here, pretty much everything I have been in is pretty much in the black, except for all the time when I was buying up here. Good fun. But when the great thing about this website, it's got multiple currencies. So if you know your currency, you can obviously find it. But if you don't know, you can't. If you don't know some of the most interesting currencies out there, you can look for the really good stuff. Before I go on to that sort of stuff, gold ounces, very very interesting, because if gold's the standard, that we're trying, it's like the benchmark that we're trying to get past. Ultimately, you know, when we talked about pitch shift here, we're talking about looks like it was down at 2017. It was 1 Bitcoin equaled 1 ounce of 1 Bitcoin, 1 ounce of gold. And obviously 2017 it pumped up to 13 is that 13 ounces per Bitcoin, and crashed all the way back down to 2.7, or they're back up to 34 ounces for 1 Bitcoin. I believe that's how you read it. But yeah, amazing stuff. This is sort of the benchmark realistically, because gold is gold is the other monetary price. Now, Argentine peso. Let's see if it populates here. The thing about this sort of stuff, so what's so cool about this particular website is you can go in there and you can look at currencies from other countries. And as you can see here, in Argentina, it was a very, 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 very smart idea to have Bitcoin in your wallet at some point in time. And no matter how many people who would have turned around and said to you, it's speculative to get into Bitcoin, if you're in Argentina, it was the best thing to do. To not be in Bitcoin was a bad idea, because as you can see, it's completely exploded. And like we got other ones like Turkey, which would have been Try, TRY, and it's going to be the same sort of thing. So yeah, all constantly hitting all-time highs if you're in Turkey. If you're in Turkey, it's a good idea to get into Bitcoin and get in now. What else would there be? There's plenty of interesting ones. The Ugandan shilling. Let's have a bit of a look at that one. The Ugandan shilling's kind of holding up. It's kind of holding up similar to the way the Aussie dollar is, I guess, to some degree. But still, at the same time, it's like, what the hell is that? It's like 159 million, but it's got an M on the end. I don't get that. I don't know if that's million. It's like billion or something like that. I don't know. Who else is an interesting particular currency? There's no doubt the Singapore dollar is probably doing pretty good. Singapore's just like the Aussie dollar, but Singapore's dollar is a bit stronger than ours. Swedish krona. It's comparable. Who else is there? Philippine peso. Now, man, I used to deal with the Philippine peso quite a lot years and years and years ago, and so I used to always track it to the Aussie dollar. I have no idea what it is to the Aussie dollar today, but at the time it was like 20 peso to the dollar, and at some points it was like 35 peso to the dollar. So sometimes you would get a good deal, sometimes you get a bad deal, but I have no idea if it could even be bloody 50 today. I have no idea. Peruvian, Nepalese. Let's have a bit of a look at that one. What do we got? Nepalese, not very interesting. Nigerian naira. Let's have a look at that one. All-time high. It's held to some degree. But as you can see by the scale, it's certainly it's losing value faster than any other like Aussie dollar or anything like that. Sri Lanka. Well, they raided the office of their president. Last year or the year before, or something like that, after the fuel shortages, and yeah, that's almost at all-time high. Lebanese pound. of course. Burning central banks in the streets, that is a definite loss. And I think that when, like, from a currency perspective, they went out there and turned, they went immediately 90% down just by a flick of a switch. So the government decided that every dollar was now worth 10 cents or something like that overnight. And so you can kind of see that reflected in this bar right here. Just goes bang to bang. So Lebanese pound, Kemet, Jamaican. I've never really looked at the Jamaican. Let's have a look at that. Yeah, sort of similar to Aussie dollar, I guess. I don't know if Israel's being affected from things since this war broke out. No, it doesn't look like it. Hong Kong dollar, nah. Egyptian pound, maybe. Let's have a look at the Egyptian pound. It's up in the all-time high. It's sort of similar to the Naira from that perspective. Algerian dinar. Not really. Yeah, so there's some certainly crazy currencies to be trapped inside. There's no doubt about it. Some, like, obviously in Lebanon, people were going into banks with guns to get their money out because there was no money inside their vaults. But this is what I generally come to when I like to have a bit of a look at some of the currencies. And I guess from doing a video like this, not only am I sort of, I guess, promoting this channel as something to look at to be able to find what the accepted Bitcoin price is, but it's also good for doing a snapshot of what the currencies we're doing at this particular time, because there's no doubt in a couple of years people will come back and go, wow, look at the price of all that. I don't know. In 20 years, I don't know what's going to happen in 20 years. Someone's going to have a look at something like this and go, how did we not see it coming? Because, quite frankly, I don't know what the future holds, but someone in 20 years might know what would have happened to one of these currencies. One of these currencies there'd be another crash of some sort. One will burn and die, and they'll look at a video like this and go, well, if only we'd known. So I don't know. I like looking at historical things like that. I have to admit, one thing that I was doing back when I first went into my first crash, and other people don't seem to do it all, is people were trying to predict where it was going to go, but I always went to go and have a look at. I looked at the previous crashes, and so when I saw it had reached an all-time high, and then it went down to an all-time low, and then it crept up for 2 years, and then it went to an all-time high again. Well, I knew it was if it repeats itself, it's going to do the same thing. So when I was 1 year into it, and I was all the way down at the bottom here, I thought to myself, well, if this point in 2017 represents what the point was in, say, 2014 to 15, and that was, if it ever does the exact same thing again, well, I know roughly where I am. It may not have been at the bottom. I may have been like halfway to the bottom or even past the bottom. I just don't know. But I'll know that whatever was coming, it was coming. And of course it did. But I think that many people would probably agree that this whole gap in the middle of this double spike here, it didn't reach the potential that it would have. There's no doubt about it. Many people predicted it would be a lot higher, and as you can see, there's a big crater in the center of this last market, and I think we can attribute that to the calamity of crashes that happened between there was a few exchanges that went down, and they all had there was particular exchanges in particular, I guess, sort of corporate. They weren't really ETFs, but they were like, yeah, lending platforms and stuff like that. And they basically all had money from other exchanges all in their pockets and stuff. And so when particular exchanges went down, they basically realized that some of the Bitcoin that they held was gone, and so they were in a loss. And then they started to become in a loss. It was a domino. Too many people had their investments in other exchanges, and when those exchanges went down, they suddenly had to patch up the holes, and they were exposed as well. And so for every crash, there was more exposure in the other exchanges. And when FTX came out, wow, FTX just took everything down, really, didn't it? So damn possums trying to fight outside. I don't know what's going on, but yeah, we certainly didn't reach the potential that we could have, which is a bit of a shame. But I mean, look at that. I think we're grinding back up again. It'll get back up somewhere up again, and then people will start to realize that we've reached the new all-time high again, and then taxi drivers will start talking about it again. People will start asking for it back in cafes again. So that's what it takes. Once it gets to that new all-time high, there'll be a bit of a you'll get your media things. They'll go out there and they'll say that they'll say, oh, it's all come back again, and then they'll start speaking negatively about it and stuff. It happens every single time. From what I've seen, every single time it goes back up to the top, they run positive articles, and then when it hits the bottom, they run negative articles. It's the same thing. I'll rinse and repeat. So if you're in the game, you don't need to worry about that sort of stuff. Just ignore it. But yeah, anyway, that's my new video for a bit of a new era, for people who want a good price action website to go and have a look at, which has got data. So have a good night. See you later.